Hello, everyone, and welcome to Stardust Into the Vast, which is a D&D 5th edition game in a setting of my own design that I've been working on for many years. This will be taking the place of the Wrath and Glory Faustian Bargains game. I am William, and I am the game master for this 5th edition campaign. And joining me today, we have Craig
Hi, I will be playing Dr. Gerhard Wieder, an undead human barbarian.
and Cody
Cody. I'll be playing Cardandroya, the Kardash Way of Mercy monk.
and John.
I'm John, and I'll be playing Durak, the human chronergy. I'll eventually get used to saying that wizard.
And Andrew.
Hello, I'm Andrew, and I will be playing Mark 7, the Warforged Buccaneer Captain, a homebrew class of my own design.
So, we begin by laying the scene. The Stardust setting is not your standard 5th edition setting in that it is built in a galactic scale. Rather than being a more traditional science fiction or more traditional fantasy, it is a mix of both, with your fantastic races from all walks of life having reached the stars in their own pursuit of the space age, where you will find orcs, dwarves, and elves roaming the galaxy alongside other more alien creatures. In this particular case, we join the beginning of our campaign at the edge of the galaxy. Well, the edge of the explored galaxy, we should say. Approaching Gilgamesh Station, the waypoint, the very last stop for most individuals before they make the trek into the unexplored. The section of the galaxy that has not been mapped, and no one really knows for certain what is out there. So, we pick up as a ship is approaching Gilgamesh Station, piloted by a lone synthetic humanoid and a gnome. Mark 7, if you'd like to describe yourself and your crewmate.
Mark 7 is ostensibly humanoid, but entirely robotic in nature. They are... Sorry, 1 second. Might help if I actually pulled up the art to reference myself. They stand at roughly... Did I specify height? Yes. Exactly 6.5 feet tall. Quote unquote dressed, but integrated into their physiology is almost piratically inclined clothing and armor. They wear a long, would you say cloak or cape? I'm not certain.
Either or, depending on the day. Does it have a hood is really the difference.
No, it does not have a hood.
Then it would be a cape.
Yeah. Cloaks
Cape.
have hoods.
They wear a long blue cape, attached at the shoulders. And gauntlets made of some sort of heavy metal along the back with leather on the inside. And about their person, they have a pistol and short sword. The gnome on board this particular ship, I did not get a description sorted out in time, but they are dressed, she is dressed as an engineer, because that's exactly what she is. She is the chief engineer for this ship, and is routinely swearing to herself in Gnomish as she gets as she makes sure everything, all the subsystems and such are actively under control.
Quick
I
to
forget,
hero
did you give
forge.
this gnome a name?
I did. Her name is Kryn Mezka, otherwise known as Wrenches.
All right. And as you bring the ship in, Wrenches is just kind of muttering about the overtaxing the warp engine that it took to get here over the FTL lanes to try and push ourselves to Gilgamesh Station, despite the fact that this thing is in dire need of an upgrade very soon.
Yes, Wrenches, I know. That's
as the RSC Studious Vanguard, not quite limping, but makes its way hazardously towards Gilgamesh Station. You find pulling up on the view screens is a massive spiraling structure that is floating basically in the empty void of space. It rests at an established set of coordinates that is far from any individual stars or planets. It is basically the last waypoint, the last lighthouse in the dark before one disappears off of the explored galactic map. The massive spiraling station is orbited by an artificial sun about the size of a small asteroid that keeps a very a close but obvious orbit so that other ships are not impacted by it circling around the station, as it provides the necessary UV radiation to support plant life and small animal populations on the station to keep its people supplied with food. As your ship is given docking clearance and you push your way in and dock the Studious Vanguard with one of the many, many docking cradles that rest along the outside of the upper spire. For whatever purpose that brought you here, be it just because you needed to be repairs or the potential of something more, or even just the exploration, because this would be the very first time that you have been to what is essentially the edge of civilization. When you arrive, you are immediately given a hail that pulls up a text-only message into your ship's communicator that simply says, "Hail, traveler. If you're looking for work, the Core Adventurers League might have something for you."
Mark 7 will... does this message come from an automated system, or is this...
It appears to be directed towards you. Someone sent this on purpose.
Yes, I'm looking for like a sender ID.
There's a signature at the bottom, the name being Keros.
All right, Mark 7 will tap out a response. Acknowledged. We'll look into it.
And you get the response back relatively shortly. "Trust me, you won't want to miss this."
Over internal comms to engineering. Wrenches, we may be able to fund repairs.
Good, because let me tell you, I don't want to try that jump again.
Neither do I. Bringing us into dock.
With that, the scene shifts as another individual has just made their way onto the station as well, on a more traditional transport liner rather than the personal ship. It's a rare thing to get a transport liner that'll take you all the way out to Gilgamesh Station, but there are certain places that you can get to that will regularly bring you out here. But the person stepping off of the transport liner is doing so in a breakup in the normal crowd of people who would normally be trying to flood their way off, just by virtue of the person who is doing the leaving. Dr. Gerhard Wieder, would you like to describe yourself?
Yes. Gerhard is wearing um, neatly maintained traveling clothes, over which he wears a long um, white and gray coat, halfway between a trench coat and a lab coat. Um, he has a satchel kept close at his side, and his head is obscured by a mirrored helmet. It looks like he is wearing, underneath the clothes, it appears that he is wearing a sealed Atmos suit. His voice, when he speaks, has an affect of as though it's being filtered or synthesized. Um, and the current mirroring to the helmet completely occludes what is inside. He stands a little over 6 feet tall, but the last couple of inches of that is probably the helmet itself. But other than that, he cuts a fairly trim figure, and walks with a straight back, and the satchel again kept close to his side, but will be coming off, looking around and trying not to stand too close to others around him as he disembarks.
And as you disembark, you too receive a personalized hail that is aimed directly at you. Your comm unit chirps with the sound of a relatively smooth feminine voice. Dr. Wieder, you must be the man who is looking to cure the uncurable. If you'd like some potential help with that, the Core Adventurers League has some work that might be suited to your expertise. If you'd like to come by the Adventuring Lodge, we might have some work for you.
And this also appears to be a live transmission.
Yes.
Who is this? How did you get this frequency?
My name is Karos, and if you come to the Core Adventurers Lodge here on Gilgamesh Station, things will be made clear.
Very well. I will look and figure out if I can figure out where the lodge is.
This place is labyrinthine at times, but there is always very clear signage and directories at basically every major crossing. So walking up and finding some of the information kiosks, you can very quickly get directions to the Core Adventurers Lodge, which is the primary housing point on any individual world or station for the Core Adventurers League, which is the sort of galaxy-wide organization that creates the mercenary adventurer market for the galaxy. It sort of organizes adventurers and puts them on different competitive scoreboards based on the size of their adventuring group, and provides payment and jobs as well as rankings to help incentivize that competitive spirit.
Okay. All right, then I will begin to head that direction.
And as you make your way there, we transition to another individual. Also, having recently arrived, but having been here slightly longer, finding a drink in one of the local bars on Gilgamesh Station, a lone Kardosh sits quietly in a corner, just mostly keeping to themselves, although there is an air of hush around them that seems completely unwarranted to the uninformed observer, because this individual Kardosh seems possibly the least threatening Kardosh you've ever seen. And that says something for a species that, despite being large, is usually pretty mellow. But would Cardon like to describe themselves?
Yeah. So he's sitting at this bar. He is currently when he came in, He was wearing appeared to be a fairly simple regular space suit. And then as he stepped up to the bar, or sat down to the bar, it shifted into semi-ornate robes of varying shades of blue and gray. He stands at a solid 7'8", with a small for his frame blade at his hip and a small belt around the robes. He is also his entire head is covered in a bone white helmet that only the mouth bit is moved as he is drinking from the bar.
And as you're having a drink and sort of ignoring the general air of caution that sits around you, which you're kind of used to at this point, you also get a personalized message that is from a masculine, very gruff voice, which just comes up unsolicited into your headset. So, Smiling Wrath comes to Gilgamesh Station. Are you looking for work to wash away that bloody past of yours? Because the Core Adventurers League has something for you, if you'd like to go on an adventure and maybe redeem yourself a bit.
Let's drink down. Grumbles loudly. You promise not to call me that. I'll meet you there.
Very well, Cardon. Come to the lodge.
On my way. And I'll stand up and brush off the robes, put down, pay for his drink, and then leave. And just eye people as he walks out.
As you depart, you shift to one more. An individual who has been on Gilgamesh Station for some time, who has managed to secure a single-room place of business and simultaneous abode to stay in for a while. Seeing one more customer out the door as their magical services have been given for the day, would Durak like to describe himself?
Durak stands at 6 foot tall, 150 pounds, pale, fair skin, crystalline blue eyes, and fairly medium-length black hair, pushed back behind the head, though with the entirety of the hair from the left temple down discolored to a shock white as it goes back. He wears mid-length purple robes that are sleeveless, through which you can see the rolled-up sleeves of a shirt underneath. Well-kept attire otherwise, and with his forearms, his wrists and forearms and hands decorated with a variety of leather straps and jewelry of fairly esoteric nature, chains, rings, leather straps. None of it seems like it's meant to be ostentatious or like it's being worn just for the sake of being worn. It all seems to have purpose. Several of them have small pouches attached to them, and a variety of things just dangling from his wrists at all times. Walks with a fairly measured pace as he closes the door, moves back to a desk, pulls out a book, begins writing.
Not but a few minutes into your writing, your communicator goes off, and a voice, once again unsolicited, enters into your space.
The communicator goes off. Durak then has to take a few moments to find it because he doesn't keep it on him at all times.
Yep.
Move books, move papers, find it, answer. Hello?
My prince, I believe your chariot has arrived. If you're looking for clues to your past and answers to your problems, come to the Core Adventuring Lodge. I think we've got work for you.
And, pardon me, who might this be? You seem to have me confused with someone else.
This is Karos with the Adventuring League. You might have met me a couple of times. I tend to hang around the stations a bit, but my good Prince Dahlman, you've got places to be.
Do I know? Have I ever met Karos?
Probably once or twice. She's the orc woman who runs the Adventurers League around here.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, you seem to have me confused. My name is Durak, but I will certainly come by.
I'm sure I do. And the connection drops.
Close it. Sigh heavily. Pick up books and my staff. Just sort of sling the staff over the shoulder because he doesn't actually walk with it. He just sort of carries it on his back. This staff, which is this gnarled dark wood construction with feather and stone token tied around the top of it, and step out the door. Reach back to the come on in, we're open sign. Flips it over to closed. And we'll head off.
And by some form of reasoning, whether it be fate or good fortune or careful planning, the four of you find yourself standing in front of the door of the Core Adventurers League Lodge on Gilgamesh Station at the same time.
Eye the others up and down.
Hello. Walk through past, not knowing why they're here or what they're here for. Just
I'll wait for the smaller ones to go.
I forgot to mention. I'm six. Durak is 6 foot tall. So I don't know. I know that makes him shorter than at least one of you. I don't know if that makes him shorter than everyone or not.
He's out of the suit. He'd probably be a little bit taller than Vider, but they're probably unless you have them back to back, they probably look about the same height.
Okay. So yeah, just completely ignoring them because I don't know what they're here for. I'm walking through the door.
Yeah. Cardon is hanging back specifically.
He waits for you all to go through, and then he'll follow in behind, just because he's not in a rush.
Vider looks at Cardon for a moment and says, "So are you all here to ensure that I go inside, or did you all also get unsolicited communications?"
See, the last one.
Is there a particular reason you would be escorted in?
Well, you receive coordinates to an unknown location, and you are contacted by someone with whom you have not previously had contact, and you arrive there and you find 3 rough and tumble-looking individuals. Pardon me for being overly cautious.
2 rough and tumble
I do
looking
not blame you.
individuals.
Sorry, I missed that?
No, I'm saying 2 rough and tumble
because he
individuals.
walked in. Because Durak just walked in.
Durak's like, cool, hi.
Very good.
I do not blame you, stranger.
His boots click together, and he inclines his head a little bit, and then turns and will walk in. keeping at least the helmet sort of half swiveled so he can see people behind him as he goes in.
So, as each of you slowly make your way in, you are greeted with an environment that seems equal parts like ye olde tavern environment and equal parts stock exchange almost, because where there are these sort of well-worn wooden and metal composite tables and chairs sat around and bars for individuals to sit and have drinks and meals and food being set out, there's also on every wall series of screens with scrolling numbers of teams and organizations and rankings and shifting points values going up and down as reports come in from across the galaxy of how the various adventurers across the entire galaxy are doing. You see leaderboards, you see quest listings, you see individual like organization notes. It's the New York Stock Exchange for everybody who has a sword and a gun and wants to get paid for it.
So the New York Stock Exchange.
combined with like a traditional fantasy tavern. And as you walk in over the low rumble, a pair of individuals from across the room spot all of you, and you see, sort of catching your attention, two people that stand out from the rest. One is an orc woman, relatively tall, with a somewhat lean build, wearing an immaculately tailored white, maybe slightly off-white suit, with black trim around the collar and cufflinks, with a pair of black hard-working boots with sort of bronzed metal platings on the toes, with a pair of haptic feedback gloves on her hands and a pistol holstered at her side. Her hair is sort of a faux hawk that sort of is shaven on the left-hand side that just kind of flops down to the right, mostly purple with a single red streak down the middle, with her golden eyes as she sort of makes contact with the group of you and indicates for the group of you to follow her in the back. The person standing next to her is a human, wearing black, heavy combat armor with red crimson accents. His eyes, unnaturally red, especially on a human. His eyes are a bright crimson. His hair is this sort of like pointed forward. I almost want to say an Anastoli, but not quite. Which is two-toned red on one side and blonde on the other, with a massive great sword with some sort of augmentations built into the blade that is just sitting on his shoulder as he sort of stands on the side of that back door, arms crossed, and waits as the orc woman waves all of you to follow her into the back office and disappears, and then he follows after her.
Any way to tell what might lead to those red eyes?
Roll me medicine or arcana.
Okay.
Did I recognize Karos?
Yes.
Yeah, I would have.
You'd seen her at least once or twice before.
I would have headed straight for her as soon as I got into the building. So.
Yeah.
I got a 15 for medicine.
It's very rare, but sometimes individuals of great power or who are exposed to incredible levels of arcane energy, or sometimes just random mutation, might have aberrant eye colors. It's typically not a sign of anything normal for a human, especially a human, to have those sort of bright crimson eyes that are unnatural within the confines of their race. It's usually a sign that something major happened to them at some point.
Fair. All right, thank you.
So, do all of you follow?
I'm already through that door.
There is... Mark 7 takes in the scene a moment. They do acknowledge the gesture from the orc. But there's a few seconds, then there's a non-verbal clicking sound, and then they begin to follow to make their way to the back door.
What? What was the name again that we were given over comms? At least from the
you were given Karos.
Karos. All right. So again, with that same synthetic sounding voice coming out of a little speaker located at the base of the helmet. Are you Karos then?
She's already sort of turned and started heading into the back room.
Wonderful. So they are taking us to a second location at the second location. But he will move and follow.
Cardon, you following?
So I thought my mic picked it up earlier. I was following, yeah.
Okay, yeah, your mic was really quiet there.
Check and see if Discord's
Yeah.
controlling your gain.
Yeah, I will definitely do
Because
that.
it didn't, because we couldn't hear you until you were halfway through that sentence.
Yeah, it's
The
probably
wonders
setting you
of
to auto gain.
technology.
So you all follow this pair through this back door and find yourself in another room. The door shut behind you, and immediately the noise of the outside of the main room of the adventuring lodge fades away into a quiet background rumble. As you find yourselves in a well-upholstered office, there is a single desk that is this sort of rich, fine wood, very dark, faint reddish tinge to it. One might call it mahogany. Sorry, I had to make that joke.
Mahogany.
The three walls that are not the wall the door is in are covered in bookshelves. And there is one armor stand sitting in the corner with a suit of armor on it and a series of different weapons, including one massively long, over-extravagant rifle.
What kind of armor is it?
It looks ancient, like pre-space age armor of some culture. You can't tell. And the female orc just sits down behind the desk while the male human just kind of stands over her shoulder. Greetings, all of you. My name is Karos. If you don't know me already, this is my partner, Sonus.
Looks over his shoulder, sort of startles slightly at the other three. I hadn't realized you were following me.
He's removed his helmet at this point. And just slate gray, stony exterior with green eyes. Just looks at you and goes, "You didn't stop walking."
Well, yes, I don't typically stop walking when I pass by people who I don't recognize. I live on a space station, after all.
I think it is less that we were following you and more that all four of us were invited.
Ah,
That is indeed the case.
fantastic.
Welcome, all of you.
Good to know I get things right sometimes.
Anyway, I'm sure you're all curious why I've sent each of you an individual message, or in the case of Cardon, Sonus sent you a message, and why I've asked all of you to gather here in the Core Adventurers League.
That's certainly one question, yes.
I'll be happy to answer as many as I can. Well, to answer that one, three of you have things that you're looking for. One of you has a ship and a desire to see the unknown. I think this could make a good arrangement, and I have an eye for talent, shall we say. I think, given each of your individual circumstances, that you could all use some money, some contacts, and some direction to find what you're looking for. And I can provide all of that, as well as a companion to get you on your way, she says, indicating to Mark 7.
You are very well informed. Though,
It is
given
my
that
job.
I surmised as much, given that you seem to be the proprietors of this lodge.
Not just a lodge. Sonus and I are the heads of the Core Adventurers League.
Ah, it stands to reason that you would have us at a disadvantage then, or at least me.
Glad to see that it expanded out since the eons ago on Grand Terra.
Yeah, it is not simply you.
It's not KOR, it's CORE.
I mean, language evolves over time.
It is not you. And looking around,
As in Galactic Core Adventurers League.
Oh, sorry, Peter.
No, you're fine. Looking around, Gerhard adds, although this looks to be a far cry from any sort of medical or scientific facility, as a gesture of goodwill, will you at least express how it is that you intend to follow through on the promises given during your initial contact to me?
Indeed. Well, the Core Adventurers League, as you might surmise, has eyes and ears across the galaxy in every nation. And one of the tabs that we have been tracking down, because it's something the galaxy could stand to learn about, is the last known trail of the troll scientist Lizaur. And if you're willing to do some work for us, we could put you on that trail to see what you can find of the research of the man himself.
On that, you have my attention.
As you know, this is sort of looking at her. I make it my business to aid those who are in need. So if turning to the other three, if you all require my services, I'm more than happy to provide. I would have a question for you in private, though, as I turning back towards her.
Absolutely.
Not here, but turning then again once more back to the other three. I'm Dorak. Pleasure to meet you all. And sort of extend one of the leather and metal laden hands.
Sure, let's have that private conversation, Sonus says, and she taps her hand on the desk, and for everyone but you and her, time stops.
Sonus or her?
Sorry, Karos.
Karos.
Karos taps the desk, and for everyone except for you two, time freezes. And you realize that everything has stopped moving. Frozen completely.
So turning back towards her.
You wanted a private conversation?
Yes, and now I'm much more on edge than before.
Trust me, you're not looking at the cause of your problems, but I know a bit about it.
My other question would be how, because if you know, then others might, and I've worked very hard for the past 5 years to make it so that they wouldn't.
Your obfuscation measures are still in place. Very, very few who are not very powerful know anything of the thing that you are trying to keep hidden.
Yes,
it just so happens that at the very top of the Adventurers League, you happen to be very powerful.
Yes, and I would assume that the individual that I'm trying to keep that information away from is also very powerful. So if you wouldn't mind, it would be very nice to have some sort of assurance that they are not the one who gave you this information.
They're not, and they're also not aware that you still exist.
But you're aware who they are.
I have ideas, and there's a very narrow list of people who could do that.
I'm looking at one of them, apparently.
Perhaps. And being on that list, I'm somewhat familiar with the rest of the members of it.
Well, it would seem I have little choice then.
Don't worry. I'm sure... Well, I won't be throwing you into the lion's den immediately. You're not ready for that. You and your prospective companions all have some growing to do before you're ready to face one of them, whoever it might be.
I turn back and resume the position I was when time froze.
And she taps her finger again, and time resumes for everyone.
Can we do an insight check to see if we notice anything different?
Sure, roll insight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd very much like to do that.
I'm going to-
Why I have advantage?
11.
'Cause
I'm
it's-
going to
I have-
roll a deception.
Roll deception with advantage.
Eh. It's not going to be great because I'm not good at that, but... Oh, a 16.
Doesn't seem like anything weird happened.
Just standing there with my
Nice.
hand out, having just introduced myself as Durak.
She takes your hand. Good to meet you.
That was to the other three because
Sorry, never
she
mind.
already
Yeah.
knew my name. So.
Yeah.
Gerhardt does not take the hand, but again taps his boots together, inclines his head, and says, "It appears that there are no secrets here as to identity, so I am Dr. Gerhardt Wieder, Professor Emeritus of the Everflame University."
Does any of that mean anything to me, William?
Roll me history.
I'm good at that.
He grabs your hand
15.
and shakes it.
Everflame University is a well-known, specifically magi science university on the elven homeworld of Alurin.
Okay. Cody, do you have your noise suppressor on in Discord?
Yeah, I do.
That's what's doing it, because what's happening is it's not until like you start talking and we hear nothing until like 5 words in.
Okay, I just shut it off, so
That-
better?
Yeah, better.
Okay.
Because like all I heard was your hand in what I assume
Yeah, no,
was
he
shake.
grabbed your hand and
Okay.
and started shaking it.
Okay. Pleasure, Dr. Vida, and
Garda Androya, Maven of Invara.
so I can tell he's a Kardosh, right?
Yeah.
So there's just like a blink, blink. Pleasure to meet you. And then turn towards Mask. Or Mark.
Mark 7 doesn't go for the handshake, but raises one hand in a stationary wave. Mark 7, Captain of the Studious Vanguard, RSC.
Pleasure to meet you all. As I said, I'm Durak, local consulting wizard here on the station. So,
And where was it that you studied?
oh, mostly self-taught.
Ah,
Like the air of like, oh, what is those?
correspondence
yeah.
school.
Oh no. Simply things that have been passed down from my father.
No, that wasn't in
sorry.
character.
Sorry. He'll add on. Mostly self-taught. From things that have been passed down from my late father.
And Durak is obviously human.
Yeah.
Or at least apparently human.
Yeah, he looks to be mid-20s human.
Okay.
Like, very young for a wizard. Kind of thing.
So, if you'd like, and if the things I've got on offer for you are tempting enough, I'd like to sign the group of you on as a brand new adventuring team. Don't worry about having to sift through the bad missions. You're welcome to take a few jobs on the side if you so desire, but I'll be hand feeding you some relevant missions that I'll be picking out for you. They'll be designed to help you grow as a team and as individuals so that each of you can be ready to take on the problems that you're looking for.
Just idly like massaging his left hand with his right, Durak just sort of leans over towards the others. The station does have a bit of a giant rat problem, but hopefully that won't be the issue.
Do you, and these leaderboards, and he gestures with a finger back towards the door that they walk through. I assume that any who take a posting with your guild, designations are posted thereon. Yeah.
In varying subcategories, the Core Adventurers League is divided down into team, guild, and company. And each of the groups that are signed on are ranked in accordance scale in terms of various things, such as number of jobs completed, overall reputation and ranking, and general efficiency, things like that. And teams are consisting of single groups of adventurers like yourselves, going all the way up to guilds, which are consisting of several small teams, perhaps with a single base, and companies who are many groups, size of several small guilds with several bases or a fleet of ships at their command. You'd be starting out, of course, as a team, with some missions that I would assign to you, and any that you're free to take that are ranked for teams of your experience.
And identities of members of those teams are public knowledge or can be occluded?
Disclosed at the convenience of the team.
And for postings and so forth, we are free, one would assume, to pick a nom de guerre, as it were.
Indeed. I will feed you some relevant information and critical missions myself for things that will help you along your journey, but you are free to grab anything you like off the quest boards that you are of appropriate rank for.
Two things come to mind. First, if we are to leave this station anytime soon, my ship will require repairs.
Yes, indeed. I think you'll find that I've already sent a shipment of supplies to your engineer. She'll be quite happy with what she finds.
Yeah. So there is another. There is to be another member of this crew, yeah?
I am accompanied by my chief engineer. She will undoubtedly have opinions.
Oh, chief engineer implies a core. Do you have others?
Had. We recently conducted a transportation mission and ran into some foul play. The crew were disinclined to continue with us after that.
But they disinclined. Sorry, go ahead.
Which leads to my second point. Sir Karas, I find it curious that you should take such a direct hand in our activities were we to join together as a team. Is this commonplace?
Only for the people that I see a particular potential in. And trust me, I've got an eye for talent, she says as she winks, and you see the faintest glow in those golden eyes for a second.
There is that non-verbal click again from behind Mark 7's faceplate.
And Mark 7, is it? Yeah.
Yes.
This prior crew, the disembarkation, was it one of a lethal variety or of the amenable variety once you had located a place of safety.
It was amenable. At least I think that is the correct word for it.
All parties agreeing.
Sorry.
All parties agreeing was providing context.
Yes.
Yes.
I took a reckless option that resulted in more danger than was necessary. Suffice it to say that many did not agree with my decision.
Thus resulting damage to your ship, yeah?
Yes, but thankfully not the crew.
Yes.
Save perhaps for my chief engineer's demeanor.
My condolences for the loss of your crew. Well, the metaphorical loss of the... Yes, that.
There's a pause as Mark 7 tries to process that.
Play into that
They don't quite
relatively low charisma score.
They don't quite get metaphors.
This is going to be fun.
Apologies for the delayed response, but thank you.
No worries. Well, if there is to be some sort of team construction, which I'm again, if the three of you require my assistance, I have no problems rendering it, as it were. I would require a bit of a stop back at my shop. I have some things that I left behind, not realizing that I might need them.
How many jobs must we complete before you provide the information you've promised?
I have a structure in mind. It won't be that you'll have to be completing a certain number of jobs before I will help you out. It's that the jobs that I will give you will be stepping stones on the process towards getting you where you want to go. You'll be taking relatively safe jobs that I believe will help you grow and progress towards the goals you're looking for. And as you become more experienced in this sort of thing and become more effective adventurers, I'll be handing you more dangerous jobs that'll get you further and further towards your individual goals.
So will we be locating this information ourselves and ultimately, or is it information that is currently in your possession and simply not being shared?
Parts of it are in my possession. I don't have everything. But I'll be giving you what you need to know as soon as I can and when it's appropriate, and you're not going to get yourselves killed on the information that I give you. Because believe me, I'd like to see this to completion. I don't want to see all of you getting thrown directly into the jaws of the beast and chewed alive, as it were. There will still be danger, don't get me wrong. But I'm not going to throw you up against Shademaw himself in your very first mission.
Does that name ring a bell?
Roll me history.
Okay.
Can I also roll that?
Sure.
Pretty sure I remember who that is right off the top of my head, but
18.
I don't know if Cardon would.
17.
You have advantage on this because it's relevant to your history, kind of. Not your personal history, but to your cultural history.
Mine or
Yeah.
Cardon.
Oh, Cardon.
Yeah.
10's all you needed.
Okay. That 10 is what I got.
So Durak and Gerhard are... So first, Cardon. You're familiar with the name Shademaw. It is the name of a massive, incredibly dangerous abyssal dragon that was a major threat to the orcs and trolls before they met the Kardosh people. In fact, it was a fight with Shademaw that led to the orcs and trolls' first contact.
Yeah.
Dr. Gerhard Vider and Durak, both of you know that as well, just from your studies of galactic history and sort of how we got here today. You also know that Shademaw is at least by the popular reckoning, supposed to be dead, because it's been many centuries and they were thought to be heavily injured in that fight.
Well,
Peter leans over towards Mark 7 and says, that was another metaphor then.
yes, one would hope we wouldn't be thrown into the maw of a corpse. I suppose it would be dangerous given the particular entity.
Gerhardt stiffens at that comment.
Another question, if I may.
Absolutely.
You have described much of what you can do for us. What do you gain?
Let's just say, well, yes, the profit of having jobs completed for me that I know will be done well, but also it's something of a passion of mine to see the potential that I glimpse in individuals be brought to fruition, to see plans and organizations of my own design and the design of the people that I involve in them become something great. I like to see people succeed, and I think each of you are looking for something. I want to help you do that.
I would like to roll
Durak,
insight.
you can make a Durak can make a perception check, and you can go ahead and make an insight check. Yeah.
Out loud, Carbine just goes,
That's a 4.
21.
you remind me of someone. And then
Durak,
that's what he leaves it at.
you faintly spot in the collar of her jacket the symbol of a silver symbol of a dragon enclosed in a sun.
It's the icon of soul, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm gonna go on a limb and assume with that 4 that I suspect something is up, but can't quite place it.
Yeah, she's
Social-
hard to read.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I got a 16.
She's hard to read still. She seems genuine, as odd as it sounds.
Okay.
Is this the sort of thing that you sign for, or
Yes, I do have a little bit of paperwork for you, she says as she slides a document across the table for all of you. One of you, at least, will want to try and come up with a name. I can leave it unassigned for right now, but eventually you'll want to have one, especially if you don't want to disclose your own personal information to clients.
Doubtless we will get to that once we know each other a bit better.
I imagine
Your ship has a line to me. It's got a private channel that you can use to access me pretty much anywhere in the galaxy outside of places of extreme interference.
Well,
Is this something that your ship had prior to docking here then, Mark 7?
Mark 7 taps the side of their head. Wrenches?
Yes.
Run a search on recent comm activity on board the Vanguard. Any new addresses added recently?
I mean, yeah, there's a new permanent private address that's been added into the list of top contacts, listed as Fixer.
Yes, I will explain later.
yes, delete that.
And thus the campaign shatters.
And you would get back, I can't.
Well,
Fair enough.
I'm particularly incentivized. Of course, as you say, names are a thing that requires time and not so much a spot decision, unless someone has something they're really all in on. Looks at the other three. Does this seem amenable to the three of you?
Yes.
Subject to evaluation in the field, yeah.
I will say, Cardon, you haven't asked me what I'm offering you. Are you already aware? Or are you just going with the flow?
I've learned that when others see something, an opportunity is to be had for both parties. So for now, I'm here.
I appreciate that. You learned a lot.
Do they look familiar?
No, not quite.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I already said that they reminded me of somebody, but that was where he left it.
Yeah.
On Durok's right hand, you can see on the back of it, there's a sort of an elaborate tattoo in black ink that is sort of just like this. It's sort of like a it's sort of a very artistic rendition of a brush that extends down from the back of the hand over across the down the middle finger, and so he sort of walks over to the paper, extends his middle finger, and signs it as if it were a pen, and it works. Just like, no, that's me.
There is a sorry, go ahead.
Maximin notes the using the finger instead of a pen, and fascinating. Is that some manner of augmentation?
In a manner of speaking, yes.
Which manner?
Well, the magical manner.
Ah. Fair enough.
And she indicates to the paper and the rest of you, well, are you up for this?
Yeah, Cardon will step forward and sloppily write his name.
Yeah, there's a pen sitting by the paperwork for all of you, which
I feel like Craig had a
Durak could have used and just elected not to.
I have my own.
Yeah. Cardon picks it up between his pointer and thumb and then basically just scribbles.
I feel like Craig had a witticism that almost got that got sidestepped slightly.
It just is when Vito goes up to sign, there's sort of a cluck and it's not side eye but sort of side helmet, and he very ostentatiously takes out his own pen and just leans over and signs and then tucks it back into his coat.
Men of learning,
Well,
we use our own pens.
It seems to me that without my capabilities, the three of you would be hampered. Very well. And Mark 7 will also get out their own pen. It's a lot more banged up than the more ostentatious one that the good doctor uses. It's definitely one that's seen some scuffing and general, like, everyday use. The occasional accidental drop to leave a dent in it, that sort of thing.
Right.
But yes, Mark 7 signs.
Well, thank you all for signing up. And again, feel free to message me when you've got a name for yourself, and I'll put it onto our roster. For the beginning, though, I have a bit of a lengthy job for you for your first mission. You see, out in the space between, offside of any of the major galactic lanes of travel, there is a world. A massive transport ship carrying several 100,000 people a long time ago crashed onto this world as it was trying to avoid the major travel lanes during the Deadlock War. This ship contained a variety of individuals, all fleeing the war from various locations of all walks of life. But it crashed and left most of them stranded on this planet. In the centuries that have passed, the planet has reached a sort of feudal state, with what was left, with most of the technology on the planet being completely demolished. They've reached something of a middle ground of achieving feudal level technology. As it turns out, no one that was on that initial payload had been a particularly brilliant mind or particularly technologically educated, or at least any that were had probably died in the crash. They're a bit backwards, and in the much time that has passed, they don't really know much of the outside galaxy. So this will be an interesting one. Their weapons will be less effective against your modern armor, and quite frankly, they'll be difficult to put up too much of a fight, but you won't have much in the way of capacity to restock your equipment while you're there, so be careful with your ammunition.
The mention of modern armor, I look down at my robes and then over at
Yeah.
everyone else.
Yeah, Cardon audibly
You're one of your
chuckles.
modern armor. It's in the one of you that's wearing any, she says.
I mean, Mark 7's armor is integrated into their body and is mostly leather.
Yeah, but it's a modern build. It's definitely more advanced than your standard like medieval leather armor.
Oh yeah, like the cape doesn't get bullet holes in it.
Exactly.
If
If
this planet is so primitive, why are we girding ourselves for war at all?
Because there's an artifact on there from the crash of the original ship that you're going to need to retrieve. You're going to want to bring it to, once you've got it, you'll want to bring it to Aloran. And if you're worried about going home, good doctor, you won't have to go anywhere near the university, but there is an artifact inspector who will be able to awaken the properties of this item for your use. I believe you'll find it helpful.
Craig, I'm sorry. Are we able to see through the helmet at all, or no?
No, it is mirrored at this point.
So like at the won't be like might not want to go home. I'll just sort of like look over at you like quizzically, but not say anything.
Yeah, I mean, and he did say he was earlier. He did say he was a professor emeritus from Everflame, which is located on Arlon.
Yeah,
it's Aloran, by the way.
Aloran.
Yeah,
sorry.
which is why he's looking at you quizzically. It's like, why would you not want to go to the place where you're a professor at? Like,
there's a student there that's waiting for him to grade his
test.
paper. Yeah, grade his test or his thesis.
There's that one,
or their thesis.
It's the parents of that one student that he failed.
Yeah.
And they won't stop bugging him.
And some say that student still roams the starways, looking for his missing professor.
Well, so just to be clear, we're going to go to a primitive planet, retrieve an artifact from a crashed ship, and then take it to a person who can turn it on.
That is the sum of your initial mission, yes.
This artifact, I assume, has great significance to those on the planet.
It is something of a holy relic to them.
Ah. Church robbing.
What exactly is it?
It's an energy source that will be highly useful for you. It currently powers a bit of magic technology that they've created called the Divine Cannon. It is currently being used by the empire that rules the despotic nature of the planet. The Nocturne Empire that rules over this planet uses it to well, let's say there's some of the few people who are aware of their status in the galaxy and would like to stay as the rulers of this small bag of sand in the middle of the galactic nowhere and use the divine canon to ensure no one else either comes or goes.
Is the power source also used to?
I feel less bad.
Is it solely used to provide offensive capabilities, or is it also powering any sort of
It powers the entire Imperial Palace, but including the divine canon, which you'll want to avoid.
I
You may
imagine.
want to try and come from the opposite side of the planet when you try and land.
Were I in the position of someone who had such power over a planet on a planet-wide scale, I would likely limit its access to the people of the planet itself in order to keep them in a state of suppression so as to maintain my power structure. So I wouldn't imagine that removing the power from this cannon would have any detrimental effect to the people of the planet as a whole.
Simply like to make certain it's not attached to, say, the People's Hospital located next to the royal estate.
Oh, I assure you not. The emperor of this dominion is a selfish man who only wants power for himself and wants to rule his small kingdom until the end of time.
Well, perhaps until the end of his time.
We're going to be shot
I
down
haven't-
on the way there.
I have a mighty need to punch this man.
Oh, believe me, many do. You might be able to find some allies once you're planet side.
Intriguing.
Are there, out of curiosity, are there any like intergalactic rules of conduct when interacting with primitive worlds?
Brannigan's Law.
It depends. The only really like galactic standards around are set by goblins who care about money and not much else. So there aren't really like galactic standards for first contact or contacting primitive worlds. Individual groups might have their own methods and methodologies, but
This is out in wild space, isn't it? It's not like it's not space is controlled by anybody.
It's in the divide, so it's in the space between any galactic empires.
Well, international waters. Right. So, as stated previously, I have a few things I need to pick up, and I suppose that if this is going to be a long journey, we might need to acquire supplies.
Doubtless we shall have time while the repairs to the Studious Vanguard are completed.
Studious Vanguard. I like that name. That's a good name.
For your personal expenditure, here's a down payment on your first job, she says as she smacks down a handful of cred sticks, one for each of you.
Can we slot that into... How does that work, William? How do we check balances on things like that?
You can put it into a data pad that'll link it to your personal information. Basically, however you want to handle it, basically. As long as you got access to some form of computing device, you can plug it into your accounts.
Okay. I didn't want to assume data pads, but yes, that's what Vitor will do. We'll
it up.
Check immediately.
I don't have anything on me to put it into, so I slide it into a pocket.
It is a balance of 5,000 credits, which will break down to... 50,000 credits, which will break down to 500 gold each.
Well then.
And if this is to be the down payment,
that's on
how
top
much
of the...
for the
because we also
delivery of that?
I forgot to double check. We also started with a sum of credits as well, right?
Yeah, whatever your starting character balance was,
I
plus
thought
any items that I gave you.
Oh, I thought you said that we had started with extra.
Oh, did I? I think I did.
Yes,
Yeah.
you give us a starting balance of, I
Like-
believe it's 30,000.
Yeah.
Yes, 30,000
Credits.
credits. So yeah, 300 gold.
Okay. I'm just gonna. I'll add that to the total then, because I didn't spend a lot of that.
Same. I didn't not spend. I'm a monk. I didn't spend anything.
How's a visa?
I was not sure what to get.
I'll spend
That
it
too.
later.
You'll receive the same. You'll receive the same again upon completion.
Well, I'll check it out when I get back to my place. Looks at the other three. Have any of you been to the station before?
No, this is my first recorded docking upon Gilgamesh Station.
It's been a while.
No, I am also new here.
Well, if you like, you could accompany me back to my shop, and I can give you the tour, as it were, of the station on the way. Point
Yes.
out where you might be able to purchase supplies.
That would be most convenient.
I could be amenable to such a tour.
Cardon puts on his helmet and lead the way.
Mark 7, yeah? You have a portion of your ship that is barometrically controlled that might be useful for laboratory space.
I am less familiar with such things than I would like, but wrenches will certainly be able to set something up for you.
Wunderbar.
Well then, follow me. Unless you have anything else that you would like to inform us of, I say, looking back at her. Name escapes
her.
brain.
Karos.
Karos.
Did she provide us with a picture of the power source or anything like that?
Yeah. So she also lays down a small projector that if you pick it up and hold it, it is a small emerald orb that looks like it's made of very smooth jade almost, and just sort of perfectly spinning and rotating.
Do I recognize what that is at all?
Roll me Arcana.
May I do the same?
Sure.
25.
14.
It's hard to say. It definitely looks like if you had to call it anything, it would be the dormant form of some kind of artifact or magical item. It definitely looks relatively mundane, but if it's supposedly powering a palace and the divine cannon, it's outputting some kind of serious energy.
Yeah. I'll just record that in my brain. Add it to the Rolodex. Very well, follow me then. And I will lead them out and begin a thorough, if uninteresting, description of the surroundings that I have memorized because I have keen mind.
Yep. So the Gilgamesh Station is divided basically on several sublevels. You can find housing all throughout, but on specific tiers of the sort of spiral tower, you can find the market district, the sort of the starship areas, and general housing has a very large block near the middle, and then agriculture is near the top on the largest area because it needs the most space for growing plants and raising animals to provide the food that a lone space station in the middle of nowhere would need to survive.
For those of you playing at home, on the cameras, John was gesticulating wildly as William was talking.
As if I was saying all these things, because... where would the markets be at that point, then?
Right around here, honestly. Like this, the core lodge is set like in the middle of the market district.
Okay, yeah. So markets, things like that. And eventually you get to like just like sort of a hole in the wall, like door that on one side has a very clearly out of place wooden sign hanging from it that says Durox Arcana, and then underneath it is another wooden sign that has a series of nonsense words or things like, you know, or just random random proper nouns like hedge wizard and things like that scratched out until you get to the last one that isn't scratched out. It just says consulting wizard.
Like hedge wizard, arcane practitioner,
arcanist, like just like all manner of like titles that sound vaguely like magical problem solver, but
one of them is literally magical problem solver scratched out.
Yeah, that one's on the list.
Maybe that one has like a few extra scratch marks in it.
Can't
be too direct with it.
Just Opens
That
the
one
door.
probably got scratched out when someone asked, "Are you a solver of magical problems, or are you a magical solver of problems?"
Yeah. Is it all in Galactic Basic Common? What is the
Goblin
share?
Goblin
Basic.
Basic.
Slash
is it?
common. Yeah, it's all in,
Goblin Basic.
it is all in
Okay,
Goblin Basic.
so are they all just in Goblin Basic, or are
Yeah.
there other languages?
They're all in Goblin Basic,
Okay.
which I will continue
Yes,
to
the
refer to as
galactic
common.
standard of the setting
because
is set by the goblins.
Common.
So
Fair.
the common tongue.
everything galactic is probably actually goblin if you were to look at the actual acronym.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Like the GTC, most people assume is the Galactic Trade Credit. Anyone who's in the know actually knows that it's the Goblin Trade Credit.
Would I?
Nice.
Well, I actually to that point, William, on my languages, would I then know, Grotarian and Goblin Basic, or
Theoretically,
would rather than just common?
yeah, like human is a language that most human planets know, but I would say you could also know Grotarian
Okay.
on top of it if there's a
So,
specific language of the planet.
human I would imagine there would be human, Grotarian, Goblin Basic. One language splits into three. So yeah, it would be all in Goblin Basic because that's the trade language. So
Which you just get shortened to basic for anyone who doesn't want to say 2 words every time.
yeah.
And this is your place of business.
Yes, indeed. You could feel free to come in if you like. I just had a few things I need to pick up. He opens the door and walks through.
Ah,
I just have images in my head of Yennefer selling boner weed from the Witcher series.
Gerhard will come inside, although he does so orienting himself so he doesn't have to touch anything.
Well, the first thing you notice is immediately to the left of the door, there is a pedestal on which stands a sort of a basketball-sized sphere that's just sort of idly floating and idly spinning as it floats, that is etched with various arcane runes. And above that, perched on the top of this pedestal that this thing is sort of floating in, is what looks like a fat eagle. It is the largest owl.
My favorite American clothing brand.
The largest owl any of you have ever seen. And again, it kind of looks like a fat eagle. It is a fish owl for the Earth species variant. It's the Blackiston's fish owl, which is the largest living species of owl. And it's a subgroup of eagle owls, which are owls that look like eagles.
It does look like just a giant fat
It
eagle.
looks like a fat eagle, and it's about the size of a human child. And it's just sitting there, staring down at you as you come in.
Nature finds a way. So you sell specimens as well?
No. That's Circe.
It's your lunch then, or?
No. She makes sure people wash their hands. I say, indicating to the orb.
And then there is silence.
Do you touch the orb?
No. He has not touched anything.
The rest of the interior is actually fairly well kept. Like there's very clearly like a meeting space in the front area with a desk that is just piled with books and papers and things, and then a wall with a variety of random knickknacks and bullshit on it, and then a door that leads further in, which is where he's going right now.
Mark 7 looks between the owl and the orb, then at Durak, and then tilts their head back up.
The owl hoots. and then looks pointedly at the orb, and then back at the rest of you.
Let's start. Can Gerhardt try to check the magic algebra on display? He mentioned there was sort of a series of
Yeah.
magical runes and calculations by the door.
You could probably make an Arcana check on it.
$10.
William, do you think that would be enough to identify the orb?
Let me check. What was it?
It's a common magical item.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So the floating orb there is what's known as a cleansing orb. If you touch it, it cleans all the dirt and grime from you. It's basically a way to take a very quick bath. Aside from that, it's mostly like the things on like there are papers scattered around that have arcane formula on them, but you probably can't make heads or tails of just about any of them.
Okay.
But yeah,
like you said, I mean, even if that had been a better role, self-taught, right? So it's all sort of in that.
It definitely
it's speech.
It's definitely more comprehensive and organized than you might have been expecting, considering the general opinion of hedge wizards by those who are learned. So, but even at that point, it's still unintelligible because it's a wizard's unique handwriting. So
yeah.
But like I said, you do at least identify the orb.
What other things are around in here? Gerhard is sort of has both hands clutched to his satchel and is still standing by the door, but is looking around to see what she's selling.
Aside from papers and things, very clearly the knickknacks on the shelves are random pieces of detritus that have been offered places of value, even though they clearly have none. Like, one of them is like a child's toy, and another one is like the other one is like a piece of interesting but broken technology. And after a few moments, the door reopens, and Durat comes back out with more pockets on his body than he had previously. As there is now a series of satchels and bags on the right hip of his belt, and a small a small carrying bag slung over one shoulder, and a book strapped into the left hand side of his belt. Right. Well, that's me taken care of. So, if you're ready, we can go acquire supplies, and I can lock up the shop for a bit.
I'm ready.
But I do need to acquire some papers while we're here. Chelsea, and I hold out, just sort of like. I correct the staff. Actually, no. I pull the staff off my back and sort of begin holding it like a proper staff, and the owl flits over and lands on top of the staff, and will remain there.
It's coming with us then.
Yes, she is my helper.
Whew. I love just the growing sense of distaste in Dr. Viter.
Chelsea works her way down the staff to my arm and then up to my shoulder, at which point I then put the staff back on my back. Walk over, grab the orb, put it in a bag. Well, then.
I feel the need to ask this question to preemptively prevent wrenches flying into a fury. Is your companion linked to you in any way, perhaps through magic?
Yes.
So then Doubtless you will be able to keep her. Her?
Yes, her.
Okay. Had to check. Doubtless you will be able to direct her out of the engineering sections of my ship and any maintenance hatches.
Yes, Cersei is a very smart bird. If there's any areas you would rather her not be, she will not be there. And
Doubtless wrenches will make that abundantly clear when
if it becomes an
the
issue,
first you meet.
and if it becomes an issue, it reaches up and snaps a finger, and the bird disappears.
Is looking around the store,
Fascinating.
is there any evidence of like bird shit everywhere?
Nowhere.
Okay, all right.
Again, it's very clean. The only like chaos in the room is the papers on the desk, really. And then snaps fingers, and Cersei appears on the other shoulder. Well then, let's go acquire supplies. And I'm going to go immediately to wherever I go to where I normally acquire my parchments and inks. And I am going to acquire, now that I've got some spending money, I'm going to acquire 300 gold worth of ink and parchment.
So you make your way out into the city, and there's a general purpose arcane supply shop, which is Ryland's Reagents. You can find relatively nearby, which is helpful, being the resident hedge wizard of the area.
Yeah. Hello, Ryland.
You head inside, and Ryland is a high elf who has been here far longer than he wants to be, and is very bored with this world, with this station, but hasn't really decided to leave yet.
I say hello in Elvish as well.
Hello, Durak. What can I get you today?
Some more paper and ink, please.
Certainly. Any particular monetary value you're looking for?
300 gold. 30,000 credits worth of transcription quality.
Thank you. And he will sort of start gathering sheafs of paper off of basically the production rack that he's got on high quality inscription paper, and sort of start bundling it up and set it down across and hold out the credit reader.
I will realize that I need to pay. Reach into one pouch. Nope, not that one. Reach into another pouch. Pull out the cred stick. Insert it.
It reads off the 300 credits, or 300,000, 30,000.
30,000 credits.
300 gold credits.
Yeah. 300 gold worth of credits.
Yeah.
Tink.
And takes it out and pulls the reader back, slides the papers over to you.
Thank you. Put those into a satchel.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Would this also be a place to buy reagents and chemicals for crafting?
Yes, you can find most like alchemical, magical, etc. Most of the reagents that a person would need to get to work on things, you can find around here in this shop.
Wonderful. I will sort of pick things and in an exacting way. Gerhard goes through all the different items, but ultimately we'll buy I guess 400 gold, which would be 40,000. Is that right?
Yes, 40,000 credits.
So 40,000 credits worth of chemical supplies.
And for shorthand, you can just call it gold because, while there are cred sticks, there's also physical like credit tokens, which are divided in the same way that coins are.
Okay.
So you can call it gold, even knowing that it would be in physical numbers a bunch of gold credit tokens.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Do they have weaver's tools here?
Say again?
Do they have weaver's tools here?
Yes, actually, because it's one of the things that they would need to use. You can find most tools and reagents here.
Okay, cool. He's gonna buy a set of those.
Yep, market price.
1,000 credits.
And yes, supplies. We'll go to. I'm sure there's a supply store somewhere on the docks.
Graxis's general store, yeah.
Now, if everyone's done buying things from name that you just said a minute ago,
Rylan.
from Rylan, then I'll take them to Graxis. Is it Grax or Graxis?
It's Graxis.
Oh, yeah.
Graxis is a goblin. So as you walk into the general store, you are greeted with the sort of echoing, like, hollow rasp of a rebreather mask as a goblin shouts out, "Welcome to Graxis's. What can I get you today?"
Hello,
As
Graxis.
you look over the counter and you see this elderly-looking goblin with the, like, long pointed green ears sticking out over what looks like a Bane-esque rebreather mask that just kind of covers the entire lower jaw. That just kind of has like a series of tubes coming off of the jaw that connect to a breath tank that they have strapped to their back.
I'm gonna look over at
That's
Mark.
awesome.
At Mark 7. Mark 7, how fast would you say your Studious Vanguard is?
Given appropriate time. Sorry, 1 sec. Let me see.
You can kind of ignore the speeds. That's mostly like the miles per hour, like if it was an Astral Sea ship.
Yeah.
But you can there's battlefield speed, and then there's like FTL speed, which is most things that run
Yeah.
FTL run around the same speed, because there's only like so much you can do in that category. Which once you jump to FTL, you're basically going.
The Vanguard is FTL capable, if that's what you're asking.
So how would I know how long, based on the information that was given, would I know how long it'll take for us to get to where we're going?
Based on the coordinates, you'd estimate probably only a couple of days in FTL. The only reason that no one else has found this place is because it's specifically off of the main charted paths.
So we'll need about a week's worth of rations for 4 people. I'm sorry, Mark. Mark, do you eat food?
No, that is not something that my physiology requires. So, if you desire to buy less, we may be able to save. But it never hurts to have extras on hand.
At very least for the three of us plus your engineer.
I have brought my own. There is no need to purchase any for me.
If you're certain.
Fine.
We do have refrigeration and freezing capabilities if we want to take extra for long-term stays.
We'll require. We'll say for 4 people, anyways, just in case. And that way, we have the extras that you've brought with yourself, and Mark does not require any. And so to Graxis, we'll need rations for 4 average humanoids, for a week's supply.
Let me find adventuring gear. There we are. 4 sets of week ration supplies. What grade are you looking for? Ration bars are cheap, but bland, according to most people.
Better than that, but not your most expensive, I would assume.
Then 4. As he started like does math, you can see behind one of his eyes numbers flashing by as his cybernetic eye does really quick calculations, which
cool.
you imagine is slightly cosmetic because this can't be very complicated math.
No.
But he sort of feeds back for 1 week's supply for 4 individuals. We will be looking at 14 gold credits worth.
I'll handle that, and I'll provide the credits.
Should be 1,400.
Yep.
Yes, that's right. And he will portion out a series of, rather than just straight ration bars, they're kind of like MREs.
Yeah. Well, I will look at the box of food and then turn my attention towards the other 3. Noodly wizard arms.
I'll grab the box from the tiny wizard and turn to Graxus and say, "Do you have an herbalism kit?"
I do indeed. And he will, let's see, tools.
I believe it's 5, so it'd be 500 credits.
As
500
Cardon
credits.
acquires all of the tools kits.
Yes. What else am I gonna do with money?
Fair.
Cardan, so you are an herbalist, an alchemist, a chef. Tell me of your interest.
I have some skill in making poultices of rudimentary nature, but that's about it.
That is a useful trade, especially when
It has helped me before.
Good. This is good. As I mentioned to our mutual new friend, Mark 7, I should hope to establish a laboratory of sorts upon this new ship. Perhaps there is a space there that could be shared.
Perhaps.
Mark, do you require any further?
At this stage, I do not think I require any additional resources. We shall have to see how much exactly has been provided to us.
Well then, in that case, you should lead the way so we can approach your, I'm sure, charming vessel.
And
Very well. Unless anyone has anything else they require.
I have one additional larger piece of cargo that is currently being held in transfer here at the station. But if we are to embark together, may I have your docking bay information and have it transferred there?
Of course.
It is modest in size, I assure you. It has only minimal energy needs and certainly minimum spatial needs.
I am sure the cargo bay will be accommodating. Mark 7 passes you a data slate, having pulled up the relevant transfer information.
Very good, Mark 7. Dankeschön. And he will take it and then transfer it to, I guess, station admin and put in a request for
for transfer onto
his
the ship.
cargo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is your stasis unit.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so that's an easy transfer. So, Mark, do you lead them back to the ship?
Yes.
What does the exterior of the ship look like?
Well, having just been, I assume the repair work is done by the time we get back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Studio's Vanguard is roughly frigate-sized, built by gnomes, So it does embrace very much an advanced look to it. I feel like the closest comparison is probably if you took the core of the Normandy SR1 from Mass Effect and then streamlined it a little bit further. There
It's a
is
block
exactly
in space.
one.
No nacelles.
Yes. Not at this time. But if you look outside to where the ship is docked, you can see that it does have the capacity to be to have such things added to it. It doesn't have any of those right now. But there is one. What's the word I'm looking for? Why are words so hard today? I don't understand.
Words
I
are
want to
hard every day.
say, but there is one airlock that to which the ship is connected to the station as a whole, and it is up this docking ramp that Mark 7 leads the way.
And we will go ahead and...
I just like this image of like these three sci-fi characters and then the wizard with a staff and an owl walking up onto the spaceship.
That is sort of the whole point of Stardust.
Yeah. Oh, neat. Just very country bumpkin feel to him right now.
So you arrive on board the ship.
Does this whole house move? No.
Great. Now I'm imagining a spaceship with giant chicken legs on it, Baba Yaga style.
That's the landing gear.
Oh, wonderful. It's been some 5 years since I was last on a spaceship.
Time to meet your ship's engineer. Well, hi everybody, it's me, Maul. I
But yes, Mark 7 leads the way out to the open space between the helm and the one of the lifts up and down to other levels. Welcome aboard the RSC Studious Vanguard. Wrenches, we have a new crew.
And you hear coming from the engineering, which is just down the hall a bit, a series of crashing noises and some gnomish swearing. I don't have a token for this character yet, but we'll solve that.
I did just put some art in Slack, based on John's interpretation.
All right, cool.
But perhaps, I made a point of keeping the hair and such done in such a way as to ensure practicality.
You can go to
minimizing things getting caught.
You can go to since you've made it in Hero Forge, you can just go to the token maker in Hero Forge and make a
I don't have that functionality.
Oh, you don't have it? Give me a share link and I'll make a token.
Token maker is a pro thing.
Give me a share.
I will get you a link.
Yeah, because we're just using the token, the Hero Forge token.
This sort of faintly rust red-haired gnome woman with cybernetic eyes and a pair of goggles sitting over her face, sort of leans around the corner in this faintly blue set of overalls with the sort of brown utility garb wrapped around it, holding a piece of important engine tech and a wrench in her other hand. Oh, so you're the new Meat Shields. Okay.
Hello, I'm Dorak. Pleasure to meet you. This is Cersei.
Grin Mazka, but everybody calls me Wrenches.
Wrenches.
That's my name, not yours.
I'm aware. Cardon, Joya, slight bow.
Right. Who's tall, dark, and spooky mask? She says, looking at
Again.
the doctor.
Again, click of boots, bow. Dr. Gerhard wieder?
There you go, William. Toad.
Sweet.
Also, weirdly, I can't see the numbers on Mark's health bar. I can only see the health bar.
Wrenches, it is good to meet you.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Right, well, try to stay out of engineering unless you actually need me for something. I don't want any Clawdefoots walking around here blowing up our Sun Eater engine.
Ooh.
Is that a common type of engine, or is that something that kind of sticks out?
If you have the technology skill, you can roll me technology.
I sure do.
I don't have it, but I'm smart.
You can roll intelligence.
I am already familiar with this engine.
Yes, you are. You have worked with it.
It has been explained to me several times, despite
That
the
would be
fact
amazing
that
if
as
Mark's
a
like, "Wait,
Warforged,
what?
I just record it.
9.
I have, if you're okay with it, I have it. I have it showing up correctly on my character sheet and in D&D Beyond. But in Roll20, I just have religion marked instead because that's what we
That's
swapped
fine.
out for
Yeah.
Hermit. So I'm just gonna
Yeah.
roll religion, but it's
You can
23 technology. check.
if you want to build it into the Roll20 character sheet, you can just make a tool proficiency and name it technology and assign the attribute to intelligence. That way you
Oh,
don't have
cool.
to have
Good
religion
idea.
checked.
I've done that on my end as well.
I've done
Excellent.
that. I've done
I
that
will-
with a negative modifier because I'm not proficient in it. That's why it's,
So, both Dr. Gerhard Wieder and Mark 7 know that a Sun Eater engine is an engine of specific gnomish quality. So most starships run off of Stardust, which is it is literally harvested from stars. That is, when you run an electrical current through it, it creates the power source that powers most of the starships of the setting. Anything that runs typically on Goblin Standard will run on a Stardust engine, which is a dangerous but highly effective power source. Basically, if you walk into a Stardust container when it's electrified, you're gonna die. Because it's a massive superconductor that will riddle you with lightning bolts. But
what if you're immune to lightning damage at the time?
Yeah, that's the gnomish engines run on a Sun Eater engine, which is very different. It is basically a fusion engine, where basically a miniaturized sun slowly eats a diamond. And it is very long lasting, but very expensive to replace that diamond every time it gets consumed. The diamond will last you for ages and ages, and it'll put a much safer power output than a Stardust engine. But it's not something you want to tamper with unless you want a sun to go off in your ship.
That is also metal as hell.
That sounds absolutely fascinating, and I'd love to learn more about it.
I'll tell you an intimate detail from the other side of the ship from it.
That works for me.
Perhaps I should give you three the tour so as not to disturb Wrenches' work any further.
Yes, that would be very much appreciated. Wrenches, it was good to make your acquaintance. I have cargo being delivered. If you would be so kind, if we are in other portions of the ship, simply let us know when it arrives. I will see to it myself.
Ah, massive no.
Right. I'll if it shows up in the cargo bay and I'm around to spot it, I'll let you know.
Very much obliged.
Right. Let us begin. We are currently standing on our main deck. Helm, weapons, defenses, and engineering all have their primary consoles here. Are any of you capable in the fields of weaponry or ship defense subsystems?
I can run your weapons.
Very well.
Not something with which I have had any experience, I am happy to say.
I have never sat at a console of a ship in my life.
Oh, I believe you have a ship subsystem proficiency, by the way, Cody, because of your spacer background.
Yeah.
With Pirate Variant.
Yep.
I'm assuming you have weapons.
Yes.
comms and scanners are something at which I may be of some use, but probably
That
best
is,
to be away from the weapon systems.
unfortunately, communication and scanning falls under my purview as pilot, helmsman, and comms officer. But we shall have to make do with what we have, as ever.
I can make you slightly better at your job.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the right words to use again. Brain is hurt. Why? Elevators to the upper and lower floors are on the port side of the ship, and this the door I've just pinged leads to a storage closet.
Look the opposite direction. Oh, I don't remember which way is port.
Says the former pirate.
Exactly.
Intentionally.
I just sort of
There's a reason I wasn't the navigator.
at the mention of port, I point back towards the airlock. That way?
No, the other side. We have entered the ship from the starboard side.
That's confusing.
I can see how it would be to individuals that
I would imagine
lack
that,
these.
Starboard and port were goblin designations, and thus they're not worth spit. You hear from the engineering department.
I would have imagined that port would be indication
Actually,
as to where the port is.
Actually, yes, that is an excellent point. Mark 7 was discovered and reactivated by gnomes, so would use the gnomish designations.
Well, specifically, like, starboard and port are the common, like, goblin basic designations of the sides of the ship, which even gnomes will use, but they don't build their ship so that port is always on so that the airlock is always on the port side, because they just don't like goblins.
Fair and valid. Where was I? Yes.
Elevators were on the
Thank
port.
you, wrenches. The they say that a considerably quieter than wrenches' interjection. Crew quarters and captain's cabin are on the deck above, while the mess hall, primary bathrooms, and cargo bay are on the deck below.
Well,
At that point, there's a sound of a ramp lowering as the cargo ramp descends, and an automated hauler drags the stasis chamber up onto the cargo bay.
I imagine that will be below. Do you require any assistance with your cargo, Dr. Vader?
No, I will make certain it is properly locked and stored away. Do you have a portion of the ship that you would intend us to use for our quarters, Mark 7?
The crew quarters would be suitable, I think.
Very well. The stasis chamber is about probably about 9 feet long, and about a 4-foot diameter cylinder with a kind of blocky base to it, where it can be locked into place.
It's like a back to tank, but opaque instead of like a clear glass.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that would fit in one of the elevators I put in. I built this map.
Well then, is there a particular series of rooms you would assign us, or shall we just look around and see which one fits?
Feel free to claim your own, though Wrench's and mine are, of course, off limits.
Are there indicators as to which ones those are?
The captain's cabin is separate from the rest of the crew quarters, and Wrench's is abundantly clear.
That's exciting.
Sure enough, on the deck of the crew quarters, one room has been painted bright brass, with the words, with the symbol of a wrench and an obscenity in Gnomish that basically means keep out.
I should have brought my signs.
Is that why you brought so much paper?
No, the paper's for my study.
You got some time before we're ready to take off, Wrencher says as she sort of shows up over your shoulder.
Or under it, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Time for what?
To go grab whatever you just talked about.
Oh. No, I think I should leave it there. That way no one takes my home while I'm away.
Alright.
Where should I put this? As Cardon is still holding all the shit that we bought.
Ah!
It
It's
is
just been
probably
standing there.
best.
Those
It is-
rations, put them down in the mess hall.
Yes, I was going to say. It is best suited to our cupboards and freezers.
I'm just gonna wander
Alright.
up the elevator to the crew quarters, and I'm going to find a room that has a window.
One
Yeah,
of them
there would-
probably does.
There's probably one on either side of the ship that does.
That's the one I take. The one that is, I'll take a room with a window that is on the side that the airlock is on.
Just don't ask us for a view of the sea.
Oh no, I like a view of the stars.
Gerhard will find the smallest of the crew quarters, or at least one that does not have a window, and will go inside, close the door, and start setting up the stasis chamber.
They are all of equal size, with the exception of the captain's cabin, which is naturally larger.
Okay.
I'll go deposit the rations, bring the herbalism kit and the other tools that I brought up, or that I bought up to a room, choose it, and just set them off to the side for now.
The rooms are relatively sparse. There's a bed built into the wall in sort of like a cubby situation, and some basic like shelf and cupboard space built into the walls again, because economy of space is very important here.
Question.
Most everything that isn't floor space is built into the walls.
Are all of these beds human scaled?
You're fortunate they're not gnome scaled, being perfectly
Yes.
honest here.
Yeah, the ship was built by gnomes, but it did need to be
Republic standard,
multi-purpose.
Republic standard has them built at slightly larger than human size because they occasionally work with other races.
Okay.
So they're probably a little tight for you, but you could deal with it.
All right. Just wanted to make sure I wouldn't have to pull the padding off and just lay on the floor.
It'd probably be more comfortable as far as elbow room, but
Actually, yeah, no, that is what he does. He pulls the mattress off the bed and uses the frame that's into the wall as a shelf for the herbalism kit and the woodcart or the weaver's tools.
yeah.
I just spent a little while.
There are an abundance of extra rooms, right?
There are enough rooms for 10 passengers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are 9 free, including all of yours.
There will momentarily be a knock at Cardon's door. Although I think, John, I apologize. I heard you after I started talking.
I was thinking I take a few minutes to set things down, and then I take the cleansing orb, and I put it in a centralized location in the mess hall.
Nice.
where it will be available, just sort of floating idly over a counter.
There might, well, I did put in a couple of tables, so one of those or the bathroom would be suitable.
I think next to the bathroom, I think. Like just
Which one
like
of the mess hall tables has
In a
the
wall space right next to the bathroom.
yeah, just like hovering there next to the bathroom. And then thinking about it, realizes that he never actually explained what it was to anybody. Rock just like extends his finger and writes on the wall underneath it, "Cleansing orb."
I love the graffiti finger.
Which again doesn't necessarily explain what it is to anybody, but it explains it enough for him.
I imagine wrenches would pick that up pretty quick.
No, it's a Roomba.
I mean, wrenches would probably be like, "Oh, sweet! I don't have to waste the 20 minutes on a shower." Boop.
Yeah.
Get back to work.
Cleansing orbs are one of my favorite common magical items. It also so it means I don't have to have prestidigitation.
While everyone,
Go on.
while everyone is getting their rooms sorted out, Mark 7 would head for the helm, and they would begin checking for any additional information that the fixer might have sent us.
You've got the coordinates of the planet and its name, which is Nocturna. And the a basic sort of like briefing rundown of the basic planetary situation is a despotic regime known as the eternal
Nocturne Empire, you said?
Yeah, the Nocturne Empire is basically hoarding all of the technology remnants from the crash and using them to solidify their claim over the less technologically advanced common populace of the planet. Basically using space age technology to lord over a feudal world.
Does the information we have say anything about anyone planet side other than the Empire?
It does note that there are several like small dynasties that exist under the Empire's boot, many of which might be amenable to allying with outsiders to try and overthrow it. It does recommend orbiting the planet from the opposite angle from a set of coordinates because it knows that is the location of the divine cannon which can punch through your ship.
Yes, and after last time, our ship ran into some technical difficulties, for lack of a better descriptor. Let's avoid those coordinates as best we can. But that is... Oh, no, I'll come back to that.
And the cannon is essentially set to shoot down any ships that attempt to enter or leave orbit. So unless a ship knows that it's there and is specifically aiming to avoid it, most ships will take a good circle around a planet and get shot down. So you would have to take very specific care to approach the planet from a geostationary point and not be in its sights.
Sorry, I'm just making some notes here.
But I believe Dr. Veter was about to knock on someone's door.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah. No. Totally fine. I just didn't want to interrupt anything that was going on. It would take me a while to get the stasis chamber set up anyway. But with that being done, is there William, would you want me to roll to see if Vita knows about how familiar Vita is with Kardash physiology?
Just roll me medicine.
Okay. Actually, not because that's a wisdom-based skill. Oh no, it's fine. I got a 2 in that. Hold on. So a 14.
You're familiar enough to treat a Kardash for injuries. You might not be able to give them any sort of like advanced dietary or like general practice information, but you could definitely do first aid and medical practice on them.
Okay. Just if I've seen them before, that kind of gives me at least the information that I wanted to have here.
Yeah.
So yeah, there will be a actually no, there wouldn't be a knock. There will be a sound from outside the door, which is not someone clearing their throat. There is a voice that just says "hem."
There's a slight pause, and then the door slides open.
Dr. Vito is standing there, hands behind his back, not wearing the satchel anymore, and he says, "You will forgive the intrusion, but we have treated some Kardash patients when I was at the university, and given the standard spacing of rooms and so forth, in those situations, we often took down the wall between 2 adjoining rooms." And one of his hands comes out and he kind of points between the 2 rooms side by side and says, "Perhaps that sort of situation might be useful here, yeah?"
I can make do. I'm accustomed to a ship. Also, I'm not quite sure that Mark 7 or wrenches would be too keen on me breaking down this wall just for an extra few feet of stretching room. I'd appreciate it, but
Think it over. Walls are modular, but spinal injuries are forever. And he will just turn and walk back to his room.
noted. And he'll Cardano walk out walk down into the mess and just hang out there for a while.
Where you see the orb floating in a cubby with the words underneath, like cleansing orb.
Yep, and what did it say on the wall next to it?
Cleansing orb.
He just walks past. Wonder what it cleans.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh man.
After setting things up, I would then be up in the helm. So, do we know where we're going and when we can leave?
Do I know when we can leave?
If you ask wrenches, within the next couple of hours. They're just finalizing all the prep to get them ready to take off.
Pre-flight checks will be completed within roughly 2 to 3 hours. But yes, coordinates to the world Nocturna have been provided.
Is there anything in particular that might need assistance for those pre-flight checks?
You mentioned you had never sat at a ship's console in your life.
Correct.
I am curious why you are asking to help, then, given your lack of capability.
Because I'm always willing to learn. And help.
Ah.
It's a very gnomish approach.
Intriguing. Unfortunately, the helm was built for one. Though you might benefit from learning operation of other consoles.
Certainly.
Mark 7 will lead the way to defenses, since Cardon specified he could handle the weapons. And he will then, they will then detail the operation of the defense subsystem, which essentially in a combative situation you can use why am I so bad at words? Of course, I keep beating myself up over it and not actually doing anything to fix it. I digress. The primary role of the defense officer is to maintain the star shield that keeps damage and, by extension, hull breaches at bay.
And how exactly does one do that?
They will go into a technological explanation of how a star shield surrounds a ship and deflects, slaps away, or otherwise stops incoming fire.
Mechanically, how does this work, William?
So basically, I'll put the Sailing the Astral Flow document in the Slack to pin after this session. That basically, if you're operating the defense system, you have a number of things that you can do in the middle of a fight. For instance, you can perform evasive maneuvers, which would let you make an intelligence defense subsystems check. If the result of the check is higher than the starfaring vessel's base AC, you use that check as the vehicle's AC until the start of your next turn. Or you can, for instance, do shields up. You can grant the ship temporary hit points equal to the defense subsystem, and gain some damage immunities and resistance to help provide some extra protection to the ship and the ones being shot at. And you can use a bonus action to help restore shields. Basically, you are in charge of keeping the ship from getting shot up if you're operating defenses.
I can learn how to. I have a high intelligence, if not the proficiency with the defense subsystems.
Yeah, you don't need to be proficient with a subsystem to use it.
Yeah, it's just proficiencies will oftentimes either help you do your job with that subsystem or unlock extra things you can do with it.
So basically, I can do everything but evasive maneuvers just fine.
I mean, you can do evasive maneuvers. It's just you'll be better at evasive maneuvers if you had the proficiency.
That's what I mean. Without that proficiency, I'm still fine because I have a +4. I just don't have the. It wouldn't be a +6 in this case.
So you've basically got a 50-50 shot of increasing the ship's AC.
And you basically notice that. I was saying you basically notice that every time you explain, you never have to explain something twice to Duroc. Like the minute you explain something, he's like he acknowledges that he understands it, and he never asks for clarification further. And you can tell by the fact that he is willing to ask questions when he needs to, that it's not because he is ashamed of needing to ask a question. It would definitely, it's like, no, got it. Okay, move on. Keen mind is such a wonderful feat.
Once we finish discussing the operation of the defense console, Mark 7 will then ask, is there anything else you require? Are your quarters to your satisfaction?
Oh, they're certainly fine. No, I'm just trying to be helpful.
Well, I can safely say that a helpful crew member is far more useful than one who is less so.
Couldn't agree more.
If you will excuse me, I would like to check in with the others.
Absolutely. I then sit down and spend the next 10 minutes pulling out a bit of wool and using a bit of string to tie the wool into a doll as I ritual cast Unseen Servant and see if my Unseen Servant can operate the defense console, now that I know how the defense console works.
it can push buttons for you, but it won't be moving quickly or with a whole lot of grace, so it won't be doing anything well.
No. I'm just like, if it could do the shields up action and the renew shields action or bonus action.
Yeah, it can flip a lever, so theoretically you can have it do shields up for you, but it would not be able to do anything helpful with evasive maneuvers. And renew shields, I would say it can do either shields up or renew shields. It could not do both.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And from what I can tell, you don't do both at the same time, anyways, right?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Although you
typically
can use an action for shields up and bonus action for renew shields if you have taken damage or anything like that.
Yeah.
You would typically start a combat by taking the shields up action and then use renew shields later on.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just.
And while you are at a subsystem, especially as a spellcaster, you're not necessarily just doing the subsystem stuff. There is other stuff you could theoretically do in the middle of a combat, like casting spells.
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to. That's why I'm seeing if Unseen Servant can handle any of that. Because if Unseen Servant can handle pushing a couple buttons, I can be doing things like giving the gift of alacrity to somebody, or a variety of other support spells.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing for the next few minutes.
Mark 7 would then head up to the crew quarters to see if anyone was still on that deck.
I'm assuming Dr. Vita would be in their quarters setting everything up.
Yeah.
There is a genteel tap on Dr. Vita's door.
One moment, please. And after about 20 seconds or so, the door slides open. One of Vita's hands is at the clasp on the mask just below the voice synthesizer. Yeah.
Is everything to your satisfaction, Dr. Vito?
Yeah, this is certainly more than sufficient space. And if Mark 7 is looking into the room, everything is pretty much exactly as it was, except the stasis chamber has been put into place. The bed is actually... Would the bed be modular, or what sort of beds are in the ship?
As mentioned previously, it is built into the wall, so...
I apologize. That's what I thought I remember that, but I wanted to double check. Yeah, it is folded up into the wall. There is no space for it to be folded down. The stasis chambers is essentially blocking where it would go.
Oh yeah.
Vito will say, but you mentioned that there might be an additional space to set up for the additional fabrication of any substances that we might require.
I will check with...
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go.
Preferably somewhere with some easily controlled heat, humidity, that sort of thing.
We do not have a dedicated space for such things, but it might be possible to convert a space in the cargo bay. I will check with Wrenches to see whether we have any available resources to begin construction of such a project.
I would be happy to oversee it myself, but I would not wish to make any alterations without your permission.
Perhaps this is something that Wrenches and yourself might be able to bond over?
Yeah, of course.
Please, forgive me if I am uncertain of such things.
Nine, bonding. Yeah, a good activity for a new crew. Or forging bonds, that sort of thing. As the robot and the skeleton stare at each other. You know, good old human things.
Okay, I needed that bit to go.
No, but I mean, so
Of course, I
I
don't know
think
you're a
I
skeleton,
think
so
no, and you still can't tell that that's what's under
Yeah.
there. There is, but in character though, there is after that just total silence and lack of motion as Vader just sort of stands waiting for any sort of response.
you seem confused by this. Perhaps it is not something you're used to. No matter.
I have not. I beg your pardon. I have not been part of a starship crew before. I have traveled commercial, shall we say, when I have needed to move about.
I see. Yes, perhaps some additional responsibilities may be required of you in times of distress, such as combat, but for now, hopefully the journey to Nocturna will be uneventful.
I should hope as well. But if there are services or other situations in which I can be of assistance, I should very much like to do so. It would be much preferable to simply sitting idly by. So please do not hesitate to alert me if there are things to which I can attend or things which I should be learning.
Understood and acknowledged. I will ensure you are kept in the loop.
Very good. I can feel us bonding already, Mark 7.
Yeah. It helps to keep the ship in one piece. Well, technically in several pieces, many of which are far smaller than others, but this is another metaphor that I have had to learn.
Well, you are adapting to the task quite admirably.
There's another of those non-verbal clicking noises that Mark 7 seems to be making a lot, but is there anything else that you require?
I like to imagine it's just the Geth communication sound effect that just.
It's basically just like a metallic tap. It's the equivalent of like a
Nine. I think I have everything which I will require. Simply let me know if there are tasks to be performed, or if you have designated an area on which I may begin construction of the laboratory, or if there is further bonding to occur.
William, can I get control over my owl's character token?
Yes.
Because I can't actually move it.
No one controls Cersei.
Cersei.
Understood. Thank you for your time. I will check. Be advised that pre-flight checks will conclude within 2 hours, and we will be underway once those are completed.
Very good. Thank you, Captain. Is it the correct nomenclature to use?
It is.
Very good, Captain. And the door closes.
As it does, Mark 7 searches the crew quarters for Carden, and not finding him, heads down to the mess hall.
Well, so you probably catch him on his way up into the weapon system as he's on his way up.
I mean, it's entirely possible that we could have taken different lifts.
Yeah, that's true too. So you probably won't. If you go to the mess, he's not there. You can see that maybe a chair is still a little bit left out. Like you didn't push it all the way back in. But yeah, he's not in the mess anymore.
All right. While I'm down here, I would also go to the cargo bay to see if we can set up space for a dedicated lab.
So you wouldn't have any of the pre-existing equipment, but there's definitely a space in the cargo bay that could be cordoned off where you could set up equipment. especially if you're not carrying any major cargo right now, which I don't think you are.
No. Apart from maybe any, do we have any spare materials and such that?
Probably a handful of leftover scrap from what wrenches didn't use from what Kairos gave you.
Okay, so there's like maybe a couple of boxes if I know wrenches.
like a few extra boxes, probably about 10-foot square each of just like raw material that wrenches hasn't used up yet.
And that wouldn't take up much. That would probably take up like not a lot of space.
20-foot square.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lot of space. Cargo bays are supposed to be big.
Oh yeah.
So take a snapshot of how much space is left in the cargo bay. Something to bring up to wrenches later, and then up to the main deck. Check the helm because that has cameras to the other sections of the ship. Find cut in weapons. Head to weapons.
You also see Durak standing off to one side while controls on the defense console are being manipulated by apparently themselves.
If Mark 7 could raise an eyebrow at that, they would. But they don't have eyebrows.
I would like the SAS upgrade.
Maybe that's when I get Charisma 20.
Yeah. Just the one eyebrow that raises.
The other one is riveted in.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining the one Mass Effect comic that I saw. That's just like Tali, just like Shepard, and then just Shepard just sighs, leans over, draws eyebrows with a marker on Tali's face mask, just angry eyebrows.
Fantastic.
Also, William, I'm going to give you going to give you 2 different token options for my unseen servant.
Okay.
So Mark 7 would then head to weapons. The door closer to the helm slides open and they step in.
Hello.
Cardon?
Yes.
Is everything to your satisfaction?
Cardon? Mark. Cardon?
Oh, hi, Mark.
No. Hate it.
Yep. Adequately ruined. You're welcome. Anyways. Yes, everything is fine. Yes, I was just acquainting myself with the weapon systems. I figured if I'm going to be using them, I might as well see what we're working with. It has been a while since I've been on a ship in the weapon systems, but it seems to be mostly what I remember.
That is good to hear. The ship is equipped with 2 laser autocannons. And you should find the controls to be adaptable to your preferences. Custom profiling can be set.
Can you show me how to do that?
Mark 7 will lean over and open a menu.
All right.
But yes, if you so desire, you can customize the controls to something that you might be more familiar with. Mechanically speaking, the weapons subsystem gives you 2 options. As a bonus action, you can take aim at a chosen enemy's subsystem. When you make an attack with weapons before the start of your next turn, you can choose to target the hull or that subsystem specifically.
Awesome.
And then as an action, you can make one attack with each starship weapon.
Which in the case of the laser autocannon is 3 attacks with each starship weapon, because it's not a lot of damage, but it has a triple shot. So you fire it 3 times.
Pew
Awesome.
pew pew.
Pew 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 pew.
Basically, yeah.
Yep. And then Blue Dabba Dee starts playing. Anyways.
Is there anything else you require?
No. Would you mind if I pulled one of the mattresses from the other room?
Your physiology is less compatible with pre-installed accommodations.
I've made do. I would just like, but yes, a larger padded area to sleep if possible.
There is a double bed in the captain's cabin that I have no use for. I can move it to your quarters if you so desire.
Sure.
Very well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I will see. I will get that done before we leave. We have approximately 90 minutes until pre-flight checks conclude.
All right, then. I will go fix what I did. And he gets up, done with the weapon systems, and then, yeah, he'll go move the kits and put the mattress back up and fold it up against the wall, I guess. Or
Yeah. You can probably like flip it up into the back of the cubby hole to keep the shelf space if you want.
yeah.
After I've determined that the unseen servant can do the job that I would like it to do, I'm just gonna send it up to my quarters to start tidying up my things that I sort of just dumped on the floor.
Mark 7 would also enlist Cardan to help move the bed because it is larger than them.
Yeah, he'll help with that.
At various
Unlike
points,
the
I was saying, at various points while you guys are doing that, you see the door to the room Duraka's claimed open and then close, with nothing seeming to be there.
well,
Is that a
one thing at a time.
malfunction?
Unusual. Last I saw, all of the doors on this ship were perfectly adequate in their functionality.
Ship's haunted. No.
Loads pistol, goes into cargo bay. Ship's haunted.
If you look in the room,
Ship's
things,
haunted. What do you mean?
If you look
Ship's
in the
haunted.
room, if you like go up to the door to check and see if it's working functionally and like open it, you'll see things being moved around by an invisible individual.
Yeah, I'm assuming we walk past, because Cardon's room is
The one next
Yeah.
to it, yeah. So
yeah, or near it, but yeah, when we walk past, yeah, just same, see stuff floating. Right, wizard.
This must be Durax doing. He was manipulating the defense console without using his hands previously.
Yeah, wizard.
The double bed from the captain's cabin, unlike any of the other rooms, this one was specifically brought in and set up rather than being integrated into the ship itself. Captain's got to have luxury after all, but Mark 7 has no use for it.
Gotta have luxury just for show.
I'm going to assume the void between the void between the main and lower deck is where our rooms are.
for now.
I mean, I could expand them. I could expand on the map a bit.
Yeah. We can make a cargo bay floor and a quarters floor to sort of complete the thing.
I mean, I could just add to this one if we need to.
Yeah.
Is there a chandelier for no reason in here?
No, that's captain's quarters.
That's what I mean.
Oh, no. It uses the standard overhead lighting like everyone else.
It's like a 0G stasis field chandelier.
The only other notable item in this in Mark 7's quarters is their desk, which is kept in an orderly fashion. A couple of books and data slates are present on the desk, but everything else seems to be packed away into drawers.
Okay.
But they pay their desk no mind as they direct you to help out with shifting the bed.
Yep. Move it over. This should be quite a bit more comfortable. As he
Undoubtedly so.
turns and falls directly back onto it. What kind of frame does this bed have? Or is it, did we just put the mattresses straight on the...
No, we would have moved the frame as well. Wooden frame.
Creaks
Okay.
just a little.
Well, that's the thing. Cardon is 500 pounds.
Huh.
Because Kardash.
It's high quality stuff though, so it does
Okay.
stand up to it. It just kind of creaks a bit, like a little ominously, but
Yeah.
I mean, I will say 500 pounds, and it's a bed presumably designed for more than one person to occasionally
that's
engage in
fair.
activities where they would be exerting 500 pounds of pressure in one spot.
That's fair.
I think it's probably fine.
Yeah, like it creaks no more than you would expect it to.
All right.
But you suspect if you were to say jump
Do a front flip
at any point, it might not hold up so well, but like
All right.
just flipping over is fine.
Okay.
Also picturing like Kardash sort of family communal sleeping arrangements like Yertle the turtle, where they just kind of pile up. Like the littlest kids on top and like grandpa's on the bottom.
I found a cairn in the woods. Oh god, it's moving. When you get back down,
I wonder who's buried here. Nobody, get off our fucking lawn.
when you get back down, whenever you get back down to the helm, by the way, Shorsa is now sitting on like the side of it, like looking at monitors.
Well, she seems to have perched herself in a space free of controls and consoles, so any other captain would probably have a mug there. Instead, I get a bird.
This, again, fat eagle.
So a few like a little over an hour passes as you guys get used to your rooms and prepare, and then eventually the ship is ready for takeoff. This is where I get to describe the control mechanism that most standard ships have, which is my favorite thing about these ships. So the seat of your ship is kind of a cradle that sort of sits around this desk that you've got all the readouts in the major console in front of you for. The thing that makes it interesting to fly any major ship is that rather than having like a keyboard console or anything major or like a joystick like you would expect on an aerial vehicle, there's a pair of hanging grips basically that sort of descend down to about central arm level. That the most pilots just sort of grab each of the handholds, and they're free floating, so they move with your arms, so you can sort of position them where you need. And one hand controls 8-directional motion, one hand controls angle, with which you use to sort of tilt and turn the ship in all directions. The other one is for movement in all 8 directions.
So
and
hottest controls.
I was thinking railjack.
And then there's a series of holographic displays that pop up on each of the hands for different subsystems that you would control while moving the ship. And then you've got the console readout in front of you for everything else.
So, for piloting the ship specifically, Mark 7 actually pulls off their gloves and plugs into the 2 grips with their hands.
Which makes it a little bit easier for you to control things, because most pilots would have to like twist and turn their hands to move the ship while they're flying. You just kind of plug in and it just feeds into the feedback.
Yeah, I can do it by thought, essentially.
Yeah.
And therefore, with a thought, I open a communications channel to the entirety of the ship. All hands, be advised, course has been set for Nocturna system. Beginning takeoff.
And you feel the ship rumble ever so slightly as it pulls away from the gravitational pull that is Gilgamesh Station. And then a short while later, the ship, after having made decent speed into the distance and having charted its course, there is, from the outside perspective, there is what appears to be a pulse from the ship as it creates what looks like an expanding set of rings out of hard light in front of it, as it creates what essentially is the entrance to the FTL corridor. This series of expanding, sort of glowing, like white blue rings that are full of these like semi-arcane, semi-technological markings that just are projected in front of the ship. And so it pushes forward, and each of these rings glows successively, and then as it passes through the final ring, it just is gone. As you are now moving at FTL.
Faster than light jump successful. Estimated arrival time 2 days.
So now you have 2 days of downtime. If there's anything you need to get done, or any conversations you need to have while you are traveling to the world of your destination.
Duroc is available if anyone wants to ask him questions or talk to him, but other than that, he's probably just spending most of his time in his room, writing, working on arcane formula.
I would speak with Wrenches and Dr. Vita about setting up a lab in the cargo bay.
Yeah, we'd be happy to start working on that and bonding. How long does that take us?
Setting up your alchemist's station probably takes the better part of a day. Okay. Getting everything in place and getting the material set up and the equipment that you need in place, cordoning off the area.
All right. So I can use another day to craft another healing potion.
Yeah, you can definitely use a second day to craft a healing potion.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to do that with the herbalism kit as well. Craft a couple of healing potions.
You can both perform those tasks.
Once it's set up, Veer will let Cardon know, and if these facilities would be at all advantageous to you, you are welcome to use them.
I might once I run out of supplies in the kit. But thank you.
Yeah, crafting a healing potion just takes a day, the appropriate tools, and 25 gold worth of materials. So
yeah,
there's no.
So I'll mark off 50 gold and.
Oh, I think it's just 25.
25 gold.
I'm making 2.
Yeah. Oh,
one the first day, one the second.
2 days.
I'm sorry, I forgot that. You did say that. I'm just.
Not cool.
Actually, I am going to take time to. I'm going to take these 2 days to actually scribe a couple of spell scrolls, using 50 gold worth of my, high quality paper and ink. I am going to scribe. A scroll of I'm going to scribe 2 scrolls of mage armor for myself. so I don't have to spend spell slots for that.
This is until you hit level 4, and then immediately take the Eldritch Invocation that gives you mage armor.
Probably yes. Actually, no. I'm going to take something else because I need to get my up to 20. But that'll come later. But I mean, so long as I got the materials, I can just make spell scrolls which don't take spell slots. So that's the other fun thing about being wizard, is that I can offload my spell casting to scrolls. And so long as they're not things that get better if I'm casting them at higher levels, it works. So I will spend 50 gold of my resources to get 2 scrolls of mage armor.
Can I squeeze in another because I don't have to stop to sleep?
Yes, I will say you can squeeze out a second potion because you don't have to sleep.
Okay. If anyone is paying attention, Vader does not leave the laboratory once it's set up. I don't necessarily know that anybody would, but he's not hiding that aspect, nor is he calling attention to it.
I'm not even paying attention, so I'm busy writing things down.
Cardon probably notices, but doesn't say anything.
I might have noticed on somewhere on the helm consoles, on the helm screens, but I don't intend to pry straight off the bat.
Does Mark 7 need rest? This is out of character. I don't know.
Yes, I have the Warforged trait of needing to rest in an inactive state for 6 hours.
Okay.
While still being alert.
Welcome to the galaxy map.
Yay!
Darn, I should have put one on the ship.
Put one what on the ship?
A galaxy map on the ship.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to draw very briefly just a black dot right there for Gilgamesh Station.
Right where?
All right, this should be on the map layer. Yeah.
Oh,
that is a dot.
Right,
yeah.
Okay. I really couldn't tell.
I was super zoomed out. Yeah.
I pinged it and then immediately thought, wait, what if that's just a bug on my screen?
Yeah, like I thought it was just a thing on my screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this on the token layer so it's not getting mixed in with the map.
You should have a little icon.
I really should make planet icons, but like tiny little planet icons.
Yeah.
If someone wants to find one of those, I'll gladly use it.
And John immediately looks away to another screen and gets
Yeah, you are going here, and you are headed somewhere right about there-ish.
Oh, that's real clever. The Roll20 map has been set to FTL days as a unit of measure.
Yep.
That is cool as hell.
I really like that. That's an
That is
excellent touch.
So, as 2 days pass by, eventually you find yourselves crossing out of FTL as you once again, these 3 sets of rings just sort of appear in the middle of space, and then boom, 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 the ship passes through them and slows back down to 2 regular astral speeds as it passes through them. And then the rings sort of fade out of existence after passing through. And you find yourself in the orbit of a singular star system. And there are probably 6 or 7 planets in orbit around this star. Only one of them is in enough of an orbit to act is in the golden zone to support traditional life. and your scanners immediately pick it up as Nocturna, the planet that you've been looking for, and you get an immediate fix on which side of the planet the Divine Cannon is on. And fortunately, you are on the opposite side from it. If you want to come into the planet without exposing yourself, you're going to want to keep a geostationary position on your approach.
Mark 7 would then get on the comms. Be advised, we have entered the Nocturna system. Coordinates to the Divine Cannon have been recognized. We are on the other side of the planet. Beginning descent.
I'm going to go out to the helm. I'm going to go down to the helm. Just so I'm within 30 feet of our pilot while he's doing this. Or while they're doing this.
Yes, you can see them plugged into the control grips as they were when taking off.
Go ahead and make me an intelligence helms check just to plot and try and locate a decent landing zone.
Intelligence helms, okay. 23.
Nice. So the question I will pose to you then is, how close or far do you want to land from any detectable civilization?
Given what we know about the Empire and the dynasties under it, as we get closer, would I be able to pick up any specific, what's the word I'm looking for? Like cities, other major points of civilization?
Yes. So as you get closer and you get a planetary scan, you're getting scans of the entire planet, even the side that you can't see. What your scans are picking up is you can see the world is mostly terrestrial. There's a continent band that spans the entire rotational side of the world. It has one contiguous continent that stretches the entire distance, with oceans on both sides of it.
Okay.
And rivers that break in from the sides of the oceans, or out, depending on which way they flow. And on this side of the planet, there are mostly like what you would classify as like pre-industrial small villages and occasional cities. As you get closer to the opposite side of the planet and the capital city, you start to see larger and larger cities. Still all very pre-industrial, but they get larger and more expansive as you get closer to the capital. And the capital itself would still, based on your scans of the actual structures, be classified as pre-industrial, with the exception of the palace, which appears to be built out of the wreckage and remains of a fallen starship, with a massive anti-space planetary cannon mounted near the top of it.
My first question would have been, does the crashed transport ship show up on sensors? Yes, it does. It's the palace.
Yeah.
In that case, I would aim to land approximately a day's travel out from a major city.
Okay. So, do you also want to stay as far away from small villages as possible?
Yes, I don't want someone just happening across the ship while we're away.
So, the most anyone on the planet side will see is there's a comet coming down. Maybe if they get a good look, they'll see something in the comet. But
oh yeah, re-entry would make us look
pretty visible.
It's a little hard to hide coming into the atmosphere.
And you're currently on the day side of the planet, so.
Yeah.
So a brightly lit ball of fire.
Not hard to see.
You suspect you'll have a limited amount of time. They might not be able to like immediately tell where you landed, but you will have a limited amount of time before people realize that something landed. Even if they will have no clue where or what it is.
Well, I understand the desire to put down a little bit further away from our target. Would it not make more sense for us to land as close as possible so that we can then escape as fast as possible?
It's also, you don't have any sort of landcraft located on your ship, do you?
Do I?
You know what? I would say you probably have a speeder. It's nothing armed, but it's something that can get you places relatively quick.
And that
And
would
it's got enough to seat at least the 5 of you if you want
yeah,
to
so
wrenches are
probably like probably like a 6-seater.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. We do have a 6-person ground transport.
So it is certainly better than nothing. Given the sort of interface that you have, I assume that you would be the only one able to fly the ship, yes?
It is possible for someone other than myself to fly. It is just easier for me.
Also, it wouldn't, regardless of whether or not they could fly it, it wouldn't take very much. I mean, it would probably take a bit, but it would not take significant amount of duress for them to disable the ship.
If Wrenches is still on board, they will get more than just duress.
I'm certain that Wrenches is a perfectly capable individual, but against a mob of torch and pitchfork wielding enemies, I suspect that they won't be
A
stopped.
locked door would be enough. If it's
Yes,
torches and pitchforks.
Yes, I am inclined to agree that they would not be able to break open the outer airlock door with torches and pitchforks.
Never.
Yeah, going over the briefing that you guys got sent, it looks like you're not gonna run into any real modern weapons until you get closer to the capital. So the further you park the ship away, the less likely anyone with a gun that can damage this hull is gonna show up. So the ship itself will probably be fine, especially if you leave me behind to take care of it. Which I would like to take care of this ship. Thank you.
I would not have it any other way, Wrenches. In the interest of minimizing potential risk and capability, and maximizing our ability to depart once our mission is complete, I have gone against my better judgment and landed in a much safer location.
Very well.
So there's a rough bit of re-entry.
It will take us time to travel to our destination, but this also opens the opportunity to begin establishing a resistance movement against the Nocturne Empire. There are, according to our contact, there are several dynasties that may be open to negotiation.
Perhaps, but we don't exactly have a position to negotiate from.
We can promise them liberation from their oppressors.
Well, yes, we can promise a great many things, but we are a complete unknown to the people of this planet, and unproven as well. If someone were to come to me and promise me the moon and the stars, I would request some amount of verification first.
I mean, we probably have a certain amount of leverage on that being random star folk coming with advanced technology and weird magic.
Never doubt.
I don't know how much magic they've got here, but like the advanced technology is not nothing.
Never doubt the ability of a mind to doubt.
It's also a matter of how long we wish to spend here ultimately. Well, the idea of fomenting a revolution, we may find that removing the power source and thus removing a great deal of the power from the ruling party makes it a great deal easier for revolution to grow on its own.
Precisely my thought.
Without a clear line into Empire territory, I would not wish to intrude upon hostile territory without a guarantee of a way out. I do wish to intrude upon hostile territory, certainly.
Yes, that's sort of why I was thinking of taking the ship closer. Then we would have the big guns.
They have the bigger gun the closer we get.
The bigger gun, yes, but it is pointed spaceward. Well,
It's also, from what you can tell, designed to stop any ship they might build
Yeah.
trying to get out, too.
well, yes.
So.
But while I've no doubt that it'll have the ability to shoot us down if we get too high above near it, if we come in low enough to the ground that we're at building level, we might be able to use our guns more effectively without being completely open to its fire.
That will expose us to literally everybody on this planet, though.
Yes, it will.
Last resort. Blow everything up. Get the power source.
It's a practical aspect. These are simply ideas. I've only a modicum of tactical experience underneath my belt, so. But I would feel less useful.
Yeah, we could
if
try
I
to
had not
smash
voiced.
and grab, but
I would feel yes,
somebody
useful if I
on
had
the
not voiced it.
planet has effective weaponry, so.
Yes. But yes, I feel that doing something substantial would be a better starting place than simply approaching and saying, "Hey, you should revolt against your masters." If you catch my drift.
I was not
Good.
going to use those exact words.
No.
I do have some capacity to persuade.
Oh, of course. I simply mean that having a thing, something, doesn't have to necessarily be the power source, but, you know...
We have an objective in
Hmm.
mind. We will find a way to reach it. And we do have the capability of adventurers, which I feel may be lacking among would-be revolutionaries.
Potentially. Do we know where to find these would-be revolutionaries?
Did our dossier specify the names of any dynasties that might be open
It doesn't
to...
have a whole lot of in-depth info because most of this is done by like long-distance magical scrying to get this
Aye.
info. So it's pretty much the general overview. Though you suspect the dynasties that would be opposed to the Empire have more power the further away you get from the Empire's seat of control.
So on this side of the planet.
Yeah.
Though you
It is...
did set us out a day from the capital, right?
Well, a day from the nearest major city.
Oh,
on
the opposite side of
I was thinking a day on foot, which
Yeah.
may be entirely inaccurate. I don't know.
a day on foot would be probably a couple hours in your speeder.
But would that still be able to keep the ship relatively hidden?
From the city, absolutely.
Okay.
Like a day's travel on foot. This is a pretty green planet. You can blend it in like a forest clearing.
I am honestly struggling a little bit to figure out what the correct answer is here.
You will have a drastically different experience based on what you decide. But
Oh boy.
I will give you the 2 weeks we have before we next run this to decide this, because this is where we're going to end for the week, as you're making your decision of how you're going to land.
say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Goodbye.